Welcome to part 3 of this square drop trailer build. Make sure you pay attention to this notice because, as you'll see at the end of the video, I had some greenery growing where it shouldn't be. We are just going to get right into it. The last video we ended off with me putting on the exterior walls, and you'll notice me here framing out the back galley door piece. You will notice I'm clamping the frame to the side of my trailer and using a lot of drills and screws for this whole back door, which I will regret later on, and you will see the evidence of that later. It was easier for me to take the back door away from the trailer and just screw on that last piece. That's the part that the hinge is being mounted on, so that's the top part that connects to the roof. So here I am just drilling in the last couple supports for the back door before I put on the piece of plywood, which I don't think I got a video of. I then started on the exterior doing something called poor man's fiberglass, where you paint on wood glue and then you put painter's cloth down over top of it. So you can see I'm doing a nice thick layer of the wood glue to really make the canvas stick. I then brought the painter's canvas down and just used my hand to nicely lay it flat, and then I used an iron to encourage the wrinkles out of the painter's canvas and really make it stick to the wood glue. I watched a couple videos and this is just how they did it, so I'm not a professional at all. I then started on the front. You'll notice there that there's a couple inches of the side walls that overlap. And I had seen some other people do it where the roof overlaps onto the walls, but I didn't like the look of that. So I saw one video where the guy just tucked about 3 inches underneath the roof, and I decided to do it that way instead. My coworker did tell me that his wife said in my last video that my music was too loud and my voice was too quiet, so I hope this is good for you this time. I then just continued with the wood glue, making sure that the coatings were nice and thick so the canvas would really stick to it. And then again, same idea, I just used my hand to smooth it out a little bit, and then afterwards I used the iron to really get out all the wrinkles. I did not previously iron the canvas, which I did see some other people do, but you know, I just like being lazy. I then started on the back galley door piece here, doing the same painter's canvas and wood glue. There's really nothing new happening here. Nothing new here either. This is the bottom of the galley door, and I just thought I'd wrap the canvas underneath just in case any water got in there. Hopefully this would prevent the wood from rotting. This is the first coat of paint. The video I watched on this poor man's fiberglass was to mix paint to like a 1-to-1 ratio of water to paint, and I hope you like this blue because that was the whole trailer. And just more painting. And you guessed it, some more painting. This was the second coat of paint, so I did still do a 1-to-1 ratio of water to paint, just to allow for any spots that I might have missed, to help it really seep into the canvas. And even more painting. I then started on the insulation. This is just some Duraspan foam board from Home Depot. It has an R value of 5.6, which is just perfect for this trailer. I did have to make some notches in the foam board to make room for the bolts as you see me doing here right now. Then I also had to make some for all the wires that were being run through the trailer. You can see me here using the heat gun. I was just putting on some ends onto the wire there so that they could connect to the light switches correctly. I then started on the interior walls, starting to cut them out. You can see me here. I took some measurements of the inside and I'm trying my best to cut it to size. If you saw all the footage, you would know that it took me a lot of tries, but I cut out all of that to make this video shorter than 4 hours. Now here I am just using a nail gun to put it in the interior wall. I used a lot of brad nails, but you know, it's better safe than sorry. After finishing putting in the interior walls, I then routed out the door and window on the other side, and then also those little wings that were on the back of the pieces of the wall. I then installed my solar panel. This one is an 80 watt that I was able to get for free from somebody, which I'm very grateful for because solar panels are not cheap. I then wired up the solar panel. I was able to just put the wires through the roof there, and then that little contraption thing there keeps it all watertight. I didn't really want this thing leaking, so I traced the outline of that little cover thing there, and I used some caulking and pre-drilled holes and screwed the whole thing down. Tightening these things when you got sausage fingers is not always the easiest, so I did have to grab a pair of pliers to help me out with that. I then installed the fan. I was able to find some butyl tape in the house and was able to use that to keep the fan watertight and secure to the roof. It actually worked great for what it had to do. From the factory, this fan did come with some holes drilled in the flange there, so I was able to put some bolts in there. And then I just wanted a bit more security, so later on you'll see that I pre-drilled some more holes and put in a couple extra screws just for extra safety. And then I bought these Amazon camper lights that I installed on the outside there. That would just provide some lighting for the outdoors. And still up to this point, I'd been using a jack stand to hold up the tongue of my trailer, but I finally bought a trailer jack and am installing that right now. I then installed the hinge on the back door. This was just a hinge I was able to buy for my work. It's just a heavier duty piano hinge, so it's nothing special. And then, you know, I had to test it a lot. I was then able to install the door on the back there, so I did do a lot of screws, but you know, I really wanted to make sure it wasn't going anywhere. This was just a quick walk around, show you the electrical. It was just hooked up temporarily to the battery, as you'll see in a second, as it's sitting on the ground. These here are just a couple of pictures of my first camping trip, and you will see in just a second that the back door caught some wind and broke over the roof, so I had the privilege of rebuilding the back door. I didn't get much footage of it, but here are a couple pictures of after the door was fixed. And at this point I knew things were too good to be true, and I got mold in the back of the trailer, so I get to rebuild it. And here's a couple pictures and videos of me tearing it apart. It was quite fun. But stay tuned for trailer number 2. Thanks for watching.